A countdown continues at the Martin County Sheriff's Office. Each hour, day, week that ticks by intensifies a need for answers.
So it's frustrating for us. We don't like having to wait, but we'd rather wait and be thorough in our investigation.
Chief Deputy John Budenseek is waiting on the necropsy results for 2 dogs he says are the latest to die in the care of Nikki Camerlengo, the owner of what once was a dog training, boarding, and grooming facility called Positively Paradise in Palm City. But to give you the full picture, let's take you back to the beginning of this investigation. In November of 2022, a Palm City couple filed this police report with the Martin County Sheriff's Office. Dan and Adele Santos told me they boarded their 2 retrievers, Mako and Marlin, at Positively Paradise for a week, after which they say Mako died while Marlin was treated for a bacterial infection and severe dehydration.
I can't tell you how much I loved that dog and how responsible I feel.
Mako's necropsy came back inconclusive. The report says the dog choked on its own vomit, but didn't find a reason why. So the sheriff's office couldn't pursue charges. Code enforcement did cite Camerlengo 8 times, 7 of which were for improper care of animals.
They did issue some citations for other animals that were kept in crates that didn't have water there.
More than a year later, another family filed a police report saying their 3-year-old golden doodle Flurry died at Positively Paradise. The dog's owner, Turner Benoit, told me the vet that examined Flurry said she couldn't find any direct cause of death, so the dog's body was sent off for necropsy, which we're still waiting on.
There's nothing wrong with her. She was running around like crazy. I don't know what happened.
3 weeks later, another family filed a police report saying their 2-year-old Labradoodle died after spending 4 hours at Positively Paradise. By the time deputies retrieved the body for a necropsy, it was already decomposing in Camerlengo's car in the heat, making the necropsy that much harder to perform.
It was almost like there was some intent there, keeping these dogs in the heat for an extended period of time post-mortem. So that really has hampered our investigation.
Deputies told me Camerlengo has refused to talk to them. In March, she agreed to speak to me on camera and denied all allegations against her. She said the dogs that died had pre-existing conditions, even though the necropsy and vet records we do have show otherwise.
And I'm sorry that there's been some issues, but that comes with every single job anywhere you go. It just so happens that my job is with dogs. If it was a person with a daycare, it'd be the same thing with a kid.
I then found other families who shared similar stories dating back to 2014, 10 years ago. That's when Tiffany and Mike Owen say their puppy Gibbs died after a week of training at Positively Paradise.
We were just in shock. We left her with a healthy dog, a puppy.
Alexis Kaslick says her dog Oakley came back from Positively Paradise training with a collapsed trachea in 2018. She says Oakley survived, but still isn't back to normal.
She can't wear a collar anymore. She can only wear harnesses.
Shalimar Gregory told me her 4-month-old Rottweiler Red died after a week at Positively Paradise in 2019. She says Camerlengo told her the dog died of parvo, but we took Red's death records to a vet who told me the dog's symptoms weren't consistent with parvo, and Shalimar said her veterinarian had an entirely different diagnosis.
She had a bruised trachea, and they think that her spinal cord was severed.
They're standing in front of my gate with a camera recording me right now.
Camerlengo hasn't answered my calls to address the latest allegations, but her brother John did address them in April.
That's how many? 2014, 2018, 2018, 2022, 2023, 2024. That's 6 dogs. How do you explain that?
I think it's funny that when this dog died, all the people came out the woodwork saying, "Oh, I had a dog die."
Well, there's nothing funny about this.
The sheriff's office issuing a stark warning to the community via Facebook.
Even though we don't have criminal charges, there's a very bright red flag here.
Did you happen to know the owner who lived here before?
I went back out to Positively Paradise in May. A new tenant told me the business is no longer operating there. But we found Camerlengo's website is still up and running. Her voicemail still advertises as Nikki the dog trainer. And according to Florida's Division of Corporations, the business is still active.
We think she probably is operating somewhere. She's not at that establishment, but she could be in St. Lucie County. She could be meeting people at their houses. We just don't know.
I reached out to code enforcement to see if they could shut the business down, considering Camerlengo already received 8 citations. Code enforcement told me a 2021 law stripped them of their power to regulate a home-based business no matter how many citations it receives. So I took the issue to Representative John Snyder, who agreed to look into that law. And what we also discovered is a lack of oversight in the dog training industry.
We found really there's no federal or state requirement to become a dog trainer. I have absolutely no certification or training, but I could open up a business tomorrow so long as I pay for a business license and say, hey, I'm a dog trainer, bring your dogs to me, and the community may be none the wiser. Should there maybe be more regulation or oversight in this industry?
I think that is something certainly here on the Treasure Coast that I look forward to working with local leaders on and really putting some type of licensure potentially in place.
We know something's wrong. We know of 3 deaths of animals that were there, and we've heard of other deaths. I know you all have uncovered some other deaths. Unfortunately, we're not able to get necropsies in all those cases, but that's not normal. And again, we're warning our public, do your homework before you take your pet for kenneling or for grooming at any of these facilities.
Many of the dog owners we spoke to didn't suspect foul play at the time and never thought to file police reports or order a necropsy. Many of them have since gone to police since speaking to us, but it's led to a lack of evidence in this case. Budenseek says the results of one of those 2 necropsies did come back in April with what he said contained concerning elements. Deputies have sent it off for a second opinion. They hope to have it back soon. That's right, Megan, and detectives I spoke with tonight breathing a sigh of relief. Nikki Camerlengo is now in the St. Lucie County Jail here behind me. She has not yet posted bond. Her arrest largely hinged on these necropsies here in my hand. An anticipated arrest captured on camera. Photos from the Martin County Sheriff's Office show Nikki Camerlengo in handcuffs, an image they waited for more than a year.
So if I'm halfway smiling, I am, not because of the complexity of the case, but we're so ecstatic that we're finally able to make an arrest and start bringing closure to some of these poor victims.
Martin County's Chief Deputy John Budenseek says deputies took Camerlengo into custody outside of Fort Pierce convenience store Wednesday. The warrant for her arrest came after deputies launched investigations into 2 dogs they say died in Positively Paradise's care this past March. First, this golden doodle named Flurry, then weeks later, this Cavapoo named Bo. Flurry was the pride and joy of Turner Benoit's mother.
I mean, it's just inexcusable.
Deputies sent both dogs' bodies off for necropsies, which just came back showing blunt force trauma to the head, neck, and body.
This is a lot of trauma to these animals, so this was not an accident. This was done on purpose. Why? We don't know.
Over the past year and a half, I've talked with more than 6 families who say their dogs either died or were severely injured in the care of Positively Paradise. Allegations dating as far back as 2014, 10 years ago. That's when Tiffany and Mike Owen say their puppy Gibbs died in her care after a week of training.
Over the years, we've had a few pets, and you know, it's always in the back of your mind. You see pictures on your Facebook pop up, and it's just sad. And at the time, like you said, we couldn't prove anything.
In 2018, Alexis Kaslik says her dog came back from Positively Paradise with a collapsed trachea. In 2019, Shalimar Gregory says her puppy Red died after a week at the facility, but not new to sound the alarm until Adele Santos in November of 2022.
It's definitely all coming back. I'm so sorry for the people who lost their dogs after us. I'm sorry that we couldn't do more.
The Santos family told me their dog Mako died after 48 hours in Camerlengo's care. They filed a police report, but the dog's necropsy was inconclusive, and deputies couldn't pursue charges. They've been seeking justice ever since.
She should be held accountable. Those dogs were absolutely dependent on her. Those owners trusted her with their children.
Camerlengo is now charged with 1 count of felony animal cruelty, and Budenseek says at least 1 other felony charge is likely forthcoming. The relief evident for all families.
My gut reaction was, I'm relieved that she's not going to hurt anybody else's pets.
I was glad that there's some justice in this whole thing.
I mean, it gives me peace to know that no other dogs will face having to be left with her innocently.
I spent the last year and a half digging into Camerlengo's business and background. In 2022, she received 8 citations, 7 for keeping animals in crates without water. And while she's no longer practicing at her Palm City facility, I found her website is still active. Her voicemail still advertises as Nikki the dog trainer, and deputies believed she simply moved her business up to Fort Pierce to keep practicing.
She was getting pressure from the Martin County Sheriff's Office, our detectives, our animal control unit, media. You've done a great job. You've pursued this like a hound dog.
Well, I just want to thank you. I mean, you've been on this since the beginning, and you've been constantly in contact with us.
In Camerlengo's arrest warrant, a judge also ordered her to stay away from animals, at least for the time being. We're also in talks with local state legislators to see if they can put any more oversight into what we found is a highly unregulated dog training industry. We're live tonight from the St. Lucie County Jail. I'm Kate Hussey, WPTV News Channel 5.
How do you explain blunt force trauma to 2 dogs? Lips sealed, Nikki Camerlengo walks out of the St. Lucie County Jail. Nikki, blunt force trauma was found in 2 dogs. How do you explain that? Her silence, deafening. In this exclusive look at Camerlengo bonding out last night, I asked her to explain blunt force trauma injuries revealed on 2 dogs' necropsies. Deputies say she's not talking to them either.
And has she said anything, given any explanation?
Not to no one.
I sat down exclusively with Martin County's lead detective on this case, Christine Polizzi. She says the 3 dog deaths she's investigated were long and painful.
These dogs were tortured. I would think as a business owner of somebody who trains animals, you know, if you got suspicious animals dying at your location, you would want to work with investigators.
Polizzi says she has text messages that show as recently as Wednesday, the very morning of her arrest, Camerlengo arranged for a dog training session.
Nikki Camerlengo shouldn't be training or doing anything with animals. Heart-wrenching to see the condition, especially Bo.
Bo is this 2-year-old Cavapoo. His necropsy, Polizzi says, shows he died of blunt force trauma to the head, neck, and body. It led to Camerlengo's felony animal cruelty charge. Now, for the first time since Bo's death in March, his mom is talking exclusively with me.
I can't even explain the horror of how that felt in those first few moments. I just couldn't believe it, and I felt like I had such a lack of trust, or that in my own capability and knowing somebody's character.
There's a reason she trusted Camerlengo. She came recommended and touted these 3 nationally accredited dog training certifications on her website. I reached out to all 3 companies and found Camerlengo lied about each one. The International Association of Canine Professionals tells me she was never actually trained there and called her claims erroneous. The American Kennel Club told me she's not in their database, and the National Canine Association of Dog Trainers says Camerlengo took their training course in 2015, but School Director Chris Altier says he revoked her membership in March after seeing multiple allegations emerge, specifically the 8 citations we uncovered in 2022, citing her for keeping animals in crates without water. Altier says he told Camerlengo to take the certifications down from her website. Since she hasn't, he sent her a cease and desist notification and may pursue legal action. Nikki, multiple organizations told us that you lied about certain certifications on your website. Do you have a response? No words, but later Camerlengo may have taken action. Her website is now password protected. In St. Lucie County, Kate Hussey, WPTV News Channel 5.